Hi, this is Matt Shearer. And on Thursday, we had this wonderful webinar with Gil Weisbaum and Don Gleason. But unfortunately, in the part of recording the video, we didn't share these key slides. So we're redoing the first part of this presentation. Please bear with us as we begin this presentation. So today, this event is sponsored by Military Transition Roundtable, and later on this webinar, we'll be joined with Don Gleason, the co-founder of the Military Transition Roundtable, and Gil Weisbaum, who is one of our members of our roundtable. So today, we're going to talk about experience matters, especially for your LinkedIn profile. But before we do that, we want to talk a little bit about the key elements that every LinkedIn profile should have. And oh yes, the experience section in your LinkedIn profile can easily help these four key objectives. First of all, LinkedIn is a wonderful place to find professional mentors. Second of all, it's a great place to do some networking. And in today's times with COVID-19 and social distancing, this is a key feature, and later we're going to do another workshop on how to network with people through LinkedIn. But today we just want you to understand that this is a key element that can be addressed in the experience section. And of course, research. LinkedIn is a key part for you, the military member, to research others, but at the same time, by having a lot of information about yourself, people get a really good idea of who you are. And as you'll soon see with Gil, you're going to have a really good idea of what Gil has done in the military. Professional status, I think, is also a key thing in any LinkedIn profile, and this is something you can address through your experience section of your LinkedIn profile. And of course, everybody always thinks that LinkedIn is all about the jobs and other opportunities. And honestly, I think if you did the first four things very well, you're going to have a lot of opportunities that'll come up when you least expect it. So let's talk about the key elements of a LinkedIn profile that come before the experience section. So as my good friend Don Gleason will tell you, a great LinkedIn profile is like a newspaper. And if you remember newspapers 15 years ago, if you went to your local restaurant and you saw those machines where you hope those 2 to 3 to 4 quarters would catch through the paper and you would be able to pull it out, this is a similar concept. So what we want to talk to you today about is above the fold. So to me, there are 3 key elements to above a fold. 1, there's the photo. 2, there's the headline. And 3, there's the about section. Now, here we are with our good friend Gil Weisbaum, and we're going to talk about some of those elements in his profile. So first we have his photo, we have his headline, and we have his banner photo. So today we're going to talk about the experience section, and what we're going to do is we're going to visit the idea that the experience section takes a little bit of prep, and we're going to show you some ways to get that information in such a way that you can easily find the information you need for this. These are 3 important things about the LinkedIn experience section. Gil, when we were working together, what did we talk about when we were talking about your profile as far as the details and the storytelling aspect of the about section?
We started talking about, where do we get this information from? Because it was really difficult where to even begin. I know we've had conversations of even from building a resume. Do you build a resume first? Do you build the LinkedIn profile first? Where do you pull the information from to even complete the experience section on your LinkedIn profile from? And and I know for me, initially starting out, that was the most tasking piece of it, was making sure everything was chronologically detailed, and then what? And then go from there, and what do you actually put? How do I put into words what I want folks to know about me?
One of the things we also talked about too is there's two things that we have to have as far as concepts. And one is facts and attribution. And so we're going to see in just a few minutes both details of this. And Gil, don't give away too much, but we will share what the tactics we use for various things that are readily available to most of the people in the group. So just follow along if you would, please. By the way, we take this break to show Gil back in his salad days when he was working with F-16s. Was that Masawa, Gil?
Yes, Masawa and Aviano, yeah.
Right. And this is a picture that's on your, comes from your profile page. I just uploaded it. Where did you find that picture?
I believe I found it just online, just working through different articles that took part in different operations that I took part in, different exercises that I took part in, and stuff that I wanted to highlight that I was really proud of, that showcased my skills as a project manager.
So here's a couple facts from Gil's profile. Let's read those real quickly. I think the second bullet, and they're not written as bullets in your profile, but the PowerPoint created these bullets. But I think the second bullet really has some facts. Can you all see the facts there, folks? 343 fighter aircraft, 8,500 passengers to 53 nations within Europe and Africa. And then you look on the top one, you also see some facts, which are 12 associates, and those topics like deployment operations management, contingency crisis, and humanitarian relief plans analysis. If you read that, do you have a really good sense of what Gil did in that job? Anybody have any questions what I'm showing here so far? What do you think, Don?
No, these are some powerful statements, especially the last one, because it talks about not just what he's responsible for, but what they did. You know, they mobilized 343 aircraft, et cetera. That now you get the size, scope of what the responsibility was.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? Gil, what? Thank you for letting us share this. Okay, so now the question is, where did you get this data? Here's one place. Military award packages. Gil, you still have all your awards from all those various assignments. What did you take from the from your awards decorations packages to create data for your LinkedIn experience section?
Actually, a lot of my information came right from my achievement medals, my commendation medals, meritorious service medals. I found that to be a really great source of information, because it's, as most on the line that, from what I can see and remember, we're all military service members. You know, it seems like those decorations are really the culmination of a period of time, and it sums up what you did during that time. So that the 353 aircraft and the missions and winning the logistics award, that's verbatim off of one of my decoration packages. So it's really great, not only to receive that medal, but to move forward and have a nice distinct package that I can copy and paste from, and then build upon from there. It was really nice.
So it's pretty easy. And as we're going to show you in a minute, we're going to take that data and we're going to put it into 3 first person format, and we're also going to use some attribution here, which is something that most military people don't understand. Let's go to the next slides. And of course, the other one that I always talk about is performance reports. Oops. I lost it. Sorry about that, guys. Performance reports. You have copies of all your performance reports, and it's pretty easy to get those performance reports at most military bases before you leave the military. And so what kind of data did you take from that as well, Gil?
So as with the decorations, the decoration is really the meat and potatoes of everything that we've accomplished during that year or the years that we were in that location. But what I found to be really useful in my performance reports was the duty description. So the duty description was really that first bullet that you had on top was how many direct reports did I have? And what was the scope of my mission, my objectives that I had to accomplish. So the duty description for me, and this is really was really transparent across all of my annual performance reports, was how much money did I have to oversee? How many people did I have to oversee? How many aircraft? How many missions? How many partners? How many stakeholders did I support? So for me, the 4 lines on top of our Air Force performance reports really greatly helped. And you'll see later within the experience section where that attributes to one of the paragraphs on how it directly correlates to. So they both work hand in hand with the decoration and the performance report.
Don, if you were just leaving the military, I know you've been in the military a few years, how would you use your ops reports to, evaluation reports to use it for data in your LinkedIn experience section?
Well, the big thing I remember is all my supervisors talking about, problem, solution, impact, results. And there's different ways to say that, but it's got to come down to you're trying to sell your capability. And if all you write is what I was responsible for, then 10 people competing for the same job pretty much have similar backgrounds. We're all responsible for similar things, but it's what you did in the job that's really what's going to sell to a company, because they want results. So you got to really pick through what it is you did, what the problem, what the solution, and even if you're just leading a team, I mean, how did you lead that team? A lot of times we in the military get into, it's not about me, it's about the team. So therefore we're very humble, but the company's hiring you, they're not hiring the team. So you got to turn that around and talk about what you did. Because if you were the leader of the team, or if you were a key member of the team, you did certain aspects, be honest, be truthful, but give the detail. So I'm really that's what I'm really picking out of performance reports.
And if I can, I'd like to add just one more thing. So I've seen a couple of performance reports from officer and enlisted too. And one thing I love about the officer performance reports is that you do add attributes. And one thing that we within the enlisted force are getting better at are adding attributes. And at least as I've progressed into the senior non-commissioned officer, and we're getting a lot better at adding statements about how our leadership feels about us, and how they, even without stratification, and those are very powerful statements that are useful moving forward.
So what do you mean by attributes? That's good. That's a good point. Help me understand this from your perspective.
Well, from my perspective, it's not just a nice pat on the back, but it's nice to have, my 06 or my 07, my colonel or general telling me that, that Gil is, a multifunctional, multifaceted leader. He is unmatched, great with logistics. He would be my go-to person. To have words that I can add to either my narratives when I discuss statements during interviews, or during even authoring it during my LinkedIn profile, but to add statements as fact from my superiors, substantiating who I am as a worker, I think adds a lot more supporting information and relevance to who I am, rather than me saying who I am.
Okay, let's go on to the next slide, shall we? All right, so here are some examples of attribution. And I highlighted in the blue things that are, I would say, good adjectives or good thoughts, but when you look at the yellow, you see the attribution. So my supervisor would say that I am innovative, visionary, and persistent. That sounds much better than saying I am innovative, visionary, persistent. Do you find, Don, that some people have problems with using the attribution aspect to their experience section?
I would say yes. We all have a hard time being humble, you know. So it is nice. It's hard when we say I, right? It's easier when we say we. But when I can give that to my, sorry, somebody's printing something for me. When we can give that to somebody else and let them talk about it, it comes out so much better.
Well, I'm from Missouri, and we are cynical at best. So seeing the attribution makes me believe that Gil is innovative, visionary, and persistent. And then now, Gil, the question I have on that second bullet is that I do not buckle under pressure. Where did you get that?
That was from, I believe that was from my annual performance report.
There you go.
I'd have to look back in it. Yeah.
But so those are examples of how to take both your, from your awards and decks and also your performance reports. Again, that's your colonel, that's your supervisor saying you don't buckle under pressure. And that's the use of attribution. So we've kind of covered here in just a couple minutes how to take facts, how to find them, how to use attribution. And now we're going to go on to the next slide, which is adding photos to your profile. So one of the things that I saw with Gil was that he's taken a lot of exceptional job photos of things that he's done, and he placed them into his profile. Gil, what inspired you to do that?
Well, actually, I saw a fellow mastermind, Jeff Carter. I saw within his profile. So within our mastermind cohort, Jeff Carter, extremely successful, transitioned extremely well to a large corporation, and I saw his profile, and I thought it looked absolutely incredible, and I wanted to mirror that. I thought it looked professional. I thought it filled all the gaps. If I had any question about what he did, you could look in the photos, and it added a little bit more fidelity to something he might have pointed to about what he talked about within his experience section. And you could dive a little deeper into what he actually accomplished without having to do additional research. And that's just me as, a fellow cohort member. So, I would imagine that if I were a recruiter, or if I was somebody else that was trying to headhunt and find somebody of his caliber, that I would probably do that same thing as well. Would continue to search through his profile, and I thought it just added a lot more to his profile. It looks a lot better.
Javon, I'm going to pull you out of the hat here. What do you see when you see a picture like that?
just you know, the picture's worth 1,000 words. So a lot of times it, you know, versus looking at verbiage, and you're also limited in characters. Yeah, I can get a definitely a sight picture on what you did by just getting, you know, I see someone marshaling in, you know, a forklift and uploading and whatever country. So I can get a lot, I can tell a lot through that picture where I may not necessarily be able to illustrate everything in the number of characters that I'm limited to within the profile. So the pictures worth 1,000 words, and the brief captions that are associated with it can give you a more complete picture of what the individual has to offer as far as what they've achieved and what potentially they could bring to your organization.
So as I look in this group here, anybody else, what would you put if you were, now that you know this, Melissa, I'm looking at you now. Melissa, what would you put in your experience section of your profile?
For me personally, I deal with a lot of air crew members. So, and that's kind of what my background is in. So it would be dealing with that. That would be able to tell what my experience, not only be able to read it, but to show that experience also. So it would be anything dealing with flight lines, aircraft, people, it's all of it. Just, and not only that, being able to show, I think when I look at this picture of Gil, that it shows giving direction. It shows being a leader. I think that's what that would show. So mine would show the same thing. So in front of people also, giving that direction and leadership.
So Josh, I know you're on stealth mode. I would hope you'll show your picture and unmute yourself. We've done mostly an Air Force kind of centric kind of thing. You're an Army Sergeant Major. What would you put in your profile with pictures that describe what you did before your retirement?
Yeah, so a lot of things were racing through my mind as we were talking through this. I mean, on the other side of my computer, what you don't see is pictures of me with units and people, which I put that there on purpose because it's a constant reminder that you don't get where you are by yourself. And so my photos would probably be filled with unit activities and people, just because that's kind of what I'm passionate about is people. So
would I be correct in saying that you're probably going to take a couple of those better pictures, scan them on your scanner, and then put that into your profile?
Yeah, I think I can, and I have a bunch. I actually, because I'm retiring, I started going through all of my photos, trying to kind of put them together because eventually I'm not going to be wearing a uniform, and we'll go back and reminisce on these days.
How about you, Matt Milburn? You're our token Marine in this group. What would you, now that you understand this concept, what would you put in the experience part of your profile? And I know I read your note that you haven't started this, but that's okay. We're going to build an effective base of information for you, sir. What would you put there?
As far as photos, I think similar to what folks have said, but I think a little more specifically, I've been in a couple different units where we've leaned into additive manufacturing and pushed the technology and developed new things. And so pictures of that, also have web links to interviews that I've given that were on Stars and Stripes or the Marine Corps' website, Marines TV. So there's some other links I can show. I can add actual video, not just the pictures. So that's what I've been thinking about. But those are very recent and definitely need to go back and look a little further.
Guys, thank you all for your input. Let me share with you a really good site to find photos. If you can't find that ultimate photo, this is the DoD official photo site. It's divotshub.net. This is where I would go. I know, Gil, you went there as well, right?
I did, yes.
And so you can put in an assortment of search terms and you can find all sorts of great photos. And of course, you know, a little attribution in the caption would go a long way. Once again, that's divotshub.net. So, not knowing who would be willing to volunteer their experience section of their profile, I went to my colleague who says he's going to fix this, Don, and I pulled Don's what I call resume style experience section. Okay. What's the difference between a resume style and the preferred first person? Anybody want to guess what that might be? Jonathan, what do you think it is?
The when I was just looking at this, the first thing that jumped out to me was, you know, the abbreviations, you know, as far as the USA ACE, but as far as to answer your question directly, it's not as personalized if you're in the first person right here.
Yeah. So
Right. Yeah.
it's missing the noun, the I. And as Don said a few minutes ago, it's hard for us to just talk about us in the I because we've been brought up to talk in the we, right? But here's a trick. When you have a great team, I always say my team and I led the execution of the project management office for Booz Allen's pursuit of contracts across, what does USACE stand for there, Don?
U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, detailing process and plus training. And then another sentence, then we also implemented training to reach those objectives. That's the magic of putting in the first person. Then, if you think about it, you throw in some pictures of some of the things you did, and as Javon said a few minutes ago, you get a really good idea of what that person did in the pursuit of his duties.
Yep, I love that picture feature. I have not seen enough of that. That is great.
So I did have a couple volunteers. Robert, thank you so much for stepping up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower this. I'm going to move Robert's profile. And we're just going to focus on the experience section, Robert, okay? But look at this. He's got some pictures right there. All right. Here we go. I'm going to just take this right here, which is this one right here. Realign 708 million capital with the development and production of comprehensive under budget and 3 months ahead of schedule. Okay. These are bullet statements. It's impressive you got these as bullets, but what can we do to make that more conversational in nature, Robert? What do you think?
More conversational? I guess like you would say put in.
I can't hear you, sir.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
I would believe like if you said
Robert, I can't hear you, sir. I'm sorry.
It's real muffled.
It is muffled, sir.
strange. Let me try. Give me a second.
All right. Okay. So what does your company do there, RP Strategic Synergy?
Hello.
Hi, I can hear you now.
Okay. I would believe it'd probably be to readjust it to the first person context that you were speaking about.
Right. And then also the use of attribution would go a long way. Okay.
Yes, these are definitely, as you would call, resume type formatted bullets.
Right.
I have placed here.
So you work in construction, is that right?
No, I work in project management or process improvement specializations there, Matt.
Okay, so when I'm looking at this, 6 permits, what kind of permits are we talking about?
Those are permits to city ordinance, what have you. The RP strategic synergy is a little bit more of my own endeavor that I'm actually doing on as called upon. It's not a 1040, but it is my personal own endeavor.
Okay.
As I am currently looking for full-time employment, and once that should transpire, then I'll actually be committed to the employer that takes me under their organization.
Okay. So thank you for allowing us to show your process. I'd be happy to talk to you offline a little bit more about that. Gil, what do you think when you read that? Yeah, I know you're a project manager, PMP guy in process. What do you think in training?
Yeah, I think, and I've talked to Robert personally many times. Same thing. Like he mentioned, I think definitely personalize it. That he realigned and he secured permits because he's showcasing what he accomplished. And I would maybe, instead of the bullet format, maybe turn it into, maybe add a little more words and turn it into maybe more paragraph format, into conversational of how you accomplished it, maybe to give a little bit more insight. Whether it's going more for, whether each bullet is more geared towards project management or process engineering, inject those terminologies.
And what kind of pictures would you put, Robert?
I definitely would try to gather as many as I could of me actually in the, as they say, in the weeds, performing those type of actions that I'm claiming that I'm doing during that specific role or the duty that it entails. I would definitely show myself as a participator and as well as under a leadership function throughout those positions.
Jonathan, I found your profile really quickly, and hopefully we'll connect. It's exciting to have you from the University of Incarnate Word. I'm going to take this right here.
Go Cardinals.
Go Cardinals.
Yeah, I'm a UTSA grad, but we have a great school. Okay, so here is something that looks out of resume speak, which was that you were the regional manager for the U.S. Navy recruiting, right? Okay. It says you're responsible for 50 recruiting stations, 225 employees. That's a good factual data, but what did you do that made a difference in terms of recruiting?
Right, the numbers, the percentage increase in enlistments, all that kind of thing. Yeah, I definitely have a lot I can add here.
And of course, I'm sure you can find a couple of pictures of Navy recruiters from that. If not, find a nice Navy photo or two to put there. And that goes back to what Javon was saying, that a picture's worth 1,000 words. You only get 2,000 characters in each of the experience sections, which is about 350 words if you've got a typical vocabulary like I do. So having pictures would be helpful. I'm gonna pull up Matthew, it's just started. Okay, guys, we're looking at Matthew's profile here, and we're looking at let's go down to number 2, okay? Here you are, you're the maintenance battalion officer for all sorts of field level maintenance for the Marine Corps ground equipment in Indo-Pacific region. Okay. What would be some facts you'd want to see, guys, on Matt's
Numbers.
Okay. Probably want to see percentage of availability, like probably improve the equipment availability from this to this, A+ to A+ 15%. Probably can find a lot of great military related photos in the dividshub.net, right?
So I actually, I did something similar to this when I was at Aviano. So I wasn't always in the logistics career field. I was in maintenance as well. So on my profile, you can look back to my Aviano experience, and it'll talk about something like this because I worked aircraft maintenance. So you can talk about the millions of dollars of equipment, because we just spend god awful amounts of money on any type of ground equipment. We call in the Air Force, FMC rate, the fully mission capable rate of your equipment, how much you maintain, what is the status, your accountability, how many people you oversaw that maintained it, the accuracy rates, the accessibility rates of the equipment, how often you might have relocated that to either forward deployments within Okinawa or to other parts of Indo-PACOM, to even process improvement endeavors and process engineering process improvement measures that you've implemented, to hazardous inspections of maintaining hazmat material to maintain these items, like inspections, all that stuff can be all lumped into this. And you, as the commanding officer, would be accountable for oversight of all of that.
And I just pulled up Gil's experience section for you so you can all see it. Again.
Yeah, so tools, accountability, equipment, hazardous material, your technical publications. So I wasn't happy to be put in charge of this section, but I was put in charge of it, and it's kind of what you do with it. So, we had the 0 findings on our audit. Our QA or quality assurance went from 63 to 98%. So those, and I wanted to add that too when Jonathan was, when we were going over his profile. So if you look at mine, something I wanted to do or have done with my profile is I kind of broke down my paragraphs into 3 different distinct categories. And the first profile is kind of what I did overall. And that's derived from the performance reports, duty descriptions. It's more of a strategic look into my roles and responsibilities. And then depending on how many paragraphs, either paragraph 2 or 2 and 3 will be into, what I've accomplished within that position. So in the first one, since it's my still current position, it's a living document. So it's not one and done. I didn't do it to get like the all-star status on LinkedIn and then forget about it. So I'll be continually adding to it. But for what I've done, it's, what did I do to improve it? And because we're constantly improving. And then how do I inject project improvement or project management and process improvement terminology into that? And then my last paragraph is the adjectives describing me, my work ethic, leadership, management style, and then captures what my bosses, my peers, and subordinates, would have thought about me.
So, Gil, did that come from your performance report, that last paragraph?
Yes.
Okay. A standout leader with a knack for repairing team dynamics. Okay. Wow. That's pretty strong.
So that's how I broke down each of mine. So, and I think for Matt, that's definitely a great way to go with anytime with aircraft equipment or any type of ground equipment in the Department of Defense. I'm sure you have a budget of millions of dollars worth of assets that you oversee, and all the programs and all the inspections that come along with it, and then just not the short choppy bullets that we're used to fitting into awards packages, but now's the time to showcase that and add verbiage.
And here's some of the pictures from that era too. Look here. Okay. Wow. Wow. Strong. Did this come from the public affairs website there?
It did. Yeah.
Okay. So that gives you an idea of what Gil's all about there. Anybody else want me to take a hard look at their experience section? And I think this is the time to wrap it up. We've been online for almost 45 minutes. Any questions? Any thoughts?
I got
have
one.
to do, go ahead.
I got one question. This is Don. How long should a LinkedIn profile experience section be? So I've seen some people try to keep them fairly short and sweet so that the person, if they want to get more, they can go to your resume.
Yeah.
Or should this be a kind of a repeat of your resume so it's all one place with a lot of detail?
Good question. This is my answer. A resume needs to change from job to job. We're going to have Kitty Myers in a couple of weeks talking about resumes as part of our military transition roundtable webinars. And she would say that they have to change from job to job. I think that the experience section that Gil has is exceptional. And the reason why it's exceptional is because it takes into context all the things he's done. And it also takes an overview of how his bosses feel about him. So you really can't do that on a resume. And that's the difference between a resume and a LinkedIn profile. Does that answer your question, Don?
It does. It almost sounds like it's more of a master resume almost.
Almost a master resume, but let's not use that term resume, because then people say, well, Don said it was okay to say resume, so therefore I can put my resume speak into there. It's like, no, we didn't say that. I didn't say that. I know you didn't say that. So yeah, that's my point on